That was for an example. So right there, he was pointing them to the past. God used Israel as an example and still do. It's in the Bible. He uses all the time. People say that the Bible contradicts. Let's say, give you a quick example. You got Mark 8, Mark 5, and Luke 8. In that, we find the account of Jesus healing the demoniac, right? But it clearly says in the scripture there were two possessed with devils. That's I'm looking at Matthew 8:28. And when he was come to the other side, when he was leaving from the ministry, he came over there and he was on the other side of the we came on a boat, was on the other side. I think he was trying to get a breath because he had just finished online ministry. There he met two possessed with devils coming out of the tombs, exceeding fierce, so that no man might pass by that way. I mean, they was like problematic. You wasn't gonna walk through there without seeing them, okay? But there's people saying that it was only one that he healed. It was, whatever. Anyway, the Bible doesn't contradict itself. You have to take into account a few things: context, writing style between Mark and Luke, writing focus, the laws of logic. You have to take all that into consideration. You have too many people that are out here who have never even picked up the Bible, and some that have, but they don't really read it, or they speed reading. They lazy, okay? Just being honest. And they're not looking up words properly. They just, I think it means this. Who reads like that? Don't read if you're not really ready to read, right? Don't read. I mean, if you're going to read something, it's because you kind of want to glean the knowledge out of what it is you're reading, okay? If it's even worth reading. But, if it is, then you want to get the information that it has. It possesses something you need to receive from it, right? You obviously don't know something, or you don't know enough about a topic. So you read to find out. You research to find out. So research, right? That's a pet peeve of mine. So not upset with you guys. Sure, you don't do that. I'm just saying. It's something that you don't want to do. If you're really going to read, you're going to read because you want to get whatever it is from it. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. What would be the point, right? All right. So God used the children of Israel. He's using the Bible. That's the first one, right? I could probably stop right there to talk about the past so that it can help us people who we weren't living back then. We're trying to do this thing now. We're walking this our salvation out with fear and trembling. We're trying to make it. Okay. It ain't always easy, but we're trying to make it. And it's not always hard either, right? Some days it's easier than others. And I honestly think that it's a level of challenge, and it's a level of I don't want to use the other word. It's a level of challenge. I'll say that, right? Of course it is, because you're fighting. I mean, the word resist already shows you that there's some there's some pushback there. So James 4:7, we resist the devil. We resist the enemy, and if you resist them, and you resist them long enough, because you're serious about this thing, so you're not going to say, "Oh, get away from me, devil," okay, and then think he's just going to stop. No, you're going to have to really stand up for yourself. But when you do, he will flee, because he's like, okay, what's the point? I can, we could be. It's really the demons, because he can't be everywhere at one time, okay? But the demons that are assigned to you, they'll give up. They'll give up. So he used the children of Israel to help us, okay? The life of Jesus is example after example after example. 1 Peter 2, verse 21 through 24. Let me just read that real quick. And I wanted to have that. I just realized I didn't have that one open. So I'm just going to, I think it might be quicker to just look it up here. 1 Peter, I said 2, 21 through 24. All right. So, and I'm sorry, I normally use the King James Version, but I'm going to use the English Standard Version. For to this you have been called, because Christ also suffered for you, leaving you an example, so that you might follow in his steps. Okay? So, as Peter saying that they went through all that they went through and followed and walked with Jesus and learned from him, so that they can be left here to be an example, which means they got to remember everything they went through with him in order to use that to minister to people, to be able to tell them, to have a testimony. Revelations 12:11. We overcome by the word, by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. Again, that's the next thing I want to get to. God uses our past to become a testimony, not just for the things that we went through, but really, experience, but really for how Jesus helped us out of it, how God helped us through it, what came out of it. Okay, what came from it? The victory we received, the triumph. This is what it's used for. So how can we truly tell our testimony of God if we don't include our personal experiences of the past and the present? You really can't. You're not going to really make it. You're not going to do it any justice. And remember that the past, of course, it sounds simple, but I think people don't probably really pay attention to this, obviously. But the past is everything that everything that already taken place. So that's something that might just happen 15 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, an hour ago. And then you can see where I'm going with this. 2 weeks ago, a month ago, a year ago, several years ago. It's the past is the past. So what I would say is this. You do not, again, I mentioned this earlier, you don't need to hold on to things that the enemy, you could tell it's not really doing anybody any good. Those things you want to make peace with. I still wouldn't necessarily say forget about, but you may not need to focus on it in a season or so, right? And I'll say that because I had a whole rape thing and some other things that I had dealt with in the past, right? I say that very easily now and it doesn't bother me. It's not a problem. It's my past, but I will still use it to minister to someone or to speak to someone, to give them encouragement and hope and let them know that God can heal them beyond and through anything that they ever experienced, including a rape or anything like that. Those are traumatic experiences. It's something that I had to make peace with, though, before I was totally healed from it. Okay. Hear what I'm saying? It's something I had to make peace with at some point where I was walking this out with God and he was helping me. Right. I was not instantly healed. He instantly gave it to me, but I had to still walk